Hello, everyone, and welcome to the eighth episode of the podcast Pukar. I am Itza Kamal, and today is sort of a special episode for me because the person that I will be talking to is one of my inspirations and has been one of my absolutely favorite writers. That is Jasir Shahbaz. Hi, Jasir, how are you feeling today?
I'm good. Itza, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for your kind words. I'm feeling very. I don't know. One of the concerns that usually the readers have is that I feel sad too often. So today is not the day that I'm feeling very
Okay.
sad. Today the weather was really nice, so I played outside, and so I'm quite happy today.
I hope that does not change by the time we end this discussion because I do have some sad questions. So let's just dive into the discussion. I personally have been following your writings for like 2 years, a little less than 2 years maybe. And one of the things that I have noticed in your writings is its diversity, right? So every piece that you're writing, every time you're uploading something, it is something different from in some way, different from the ones before it, and it is like following a concept उसके बीच में एक central concept है जिसके इर्द गिर्द वो revolve कर रही है every writing of yours, and that makes me wonder the inspiration when it comes to you for your writings, is it usually general or personal, like if you could put it into one of these categories.
So I think that one of the reasons that the writings are quite diverse is because generally when I'm writing about things, I'm not just writing about them from my own personal life. Because if I'm writing about my own personal life, then things will follow a certain kind of theme or a certain kind of pattern or certain kind of topics that they can only be around. But because I'm generally very observant in my life, so wherever I am, I'm always thinking things from different people's perspective. So if I'm waiting in a bus and I'm seeing a person sitting there, or they look sad, or they're looking out of the window, or they are taking a call or something, so I just start thinking of a story around that. And because of my own laziness, because I can't have the discipline to write complete short stories, so I just write them in terms of like microfiction, or if it becomes a little lyrical, so it's a poem. So one of the things is that when you are writing or sharing it on social media, one of the issues that one feels for themselves is that a lot of times people read too much into it. So a lot of times people read it and assume certain things about you. So they think that every piece is about you, and it is certainly true as well, and certainly not true as well, because every piece that I'm writing is obviously never fully fictional. Obviously
Yeah.
there's some inspiration about it around me, whether it's in my own life or in the lives of people around me or the lives of people I'm observing. But at the same time, when you're writing certain things, you would know as well that it's never just how things are. At times, you tone them down for them to be bearable, for them to be not too graphic or not
Yeah.
too much for people to bear. And sometimes you exaggerate them to a poetic level, especially when you are writing about love poems. So obviously, no one is dying to meet their lover. No one goes crazy on seeing the moon, or no one is counting the stars quite literally. But all these things are there for the emotion.
Yeah.
So this is something that I also feel that it's quite unjust as well. And a lot of times, when especially when I started sharing recently, so I used to feel this self censorship because my family is on social media, my friends is on social media, now my work colleagues, I'm a teacher, my students are on social media. So you are constantly thinking this thing that these people are going to think that, oh, we know the person who they are talking about in the piece. And a lot of times my friends are like, oh, I know what you wrote write about it. I'm like, no, you don't have any idea
Yeah.
who i who I'm talking about. So I used to face this internal process a lot, that should I put this on social media or not. But then I started thinking that all the writers who have been there, obviously I'm not a established writer or something, but all the writers who have been there, obviously their works outlived them. Their works outlived the people who knew them in personal life. So now with this page, the good thing is that I know that okay, some people are reading who literally have no idea about me. So they
Yeah.
can't, so so they can't make any assumption about it, and writing actually about them. I'm not writing for my family or for my friends or for my students. I'm writing for people who are there to read these pieces.
One of the things about this misconception that I have noticed is like at a personal level, I can be having a very good day, like I'm feeling at the top of the world, and yet I can write the most sad thing down, even when I'm like very cheerful. And so I understand that is one of the issues. And
And
yeah,
now even the more weird thing is that earlier it used to be, before I even made the page. So earlier, when I just used to share things on my own personal timeline, so it used to be that I wrote something and then I shared it. But now what happens is that I'm sharing something which I wrote maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. So I'm literally not in that same zone
yes,
even. So it's not just the emotion. And so many times I'm just sitting with my friends, and obviously when you are sharing things on social media, so there's certain timings on which you post. So I'm sitting with friends, and I know that okay, this is the time to post this thing on social media on my page, and I've already decided that which piece I'm going to share. So I just take it from my notes and paste it there, and then they're reading it. They're like, "You were sitting with us. How come you wrote it down? And why you're so sad? You're sitting with us."
yeah,
And I'm like, I didn't write, I didn't write it now. I'm just sharing it now. So it's not happening in real time. And also, it is something that I felt is that. A lot of times when you're going through that emotion, it's very difficult to write about it. It's only in retrospect when you are able to make sense of things, when you are able to process them, and you are able to write about them. And similarly, something that I have decided consciously as well is that if I'm very sad or I'm thinking something very, so it's very rarely happens. I don't know, it's very hard for people to believe, but generally I'm a very happy go lucky type of person.
yeah.
Uh, so so if some thought comes to me or I'm feeling very negative about life or things, I don't write about it or I don't post it, because now I realize that as a not maybe as a writer, but as a person who has access to certain number of people, you also have responsibility on what you are sharing. Because
Okay,
this is something that I have experienced, that when you are vulnerable yourself, whatever you're reading on social media has a lot of impact on you. So
that
I
is
don't
very
want it so I don't want it to be there for someone who's already going through a hard time, and then they read this piece, and then they spiral downwards into it. Matlab, I agree that you don't have to sugarcoat things or any certain thing as well, but then sadness is not a 24/7 emotion. You're not sad your whole life. And even if you are sad, you are not that extent of sad all the time.
yeah.
So now I've made this conscious effort that even if I have to write about sadness or something gloomy or something, I always write it when I'm out of that emotion. So I'm not in that mode where my own sensibilities are compromised.
That makes sense. But like if we're looking at the other side of the picture, there is also this thing, right? I'm having a hard day, right? I'm feeling a little down, I'm a little sad. I open my social media and there is a post by you or by one of the writers that I follow. And it is a sad post. And I believe that when I'm already sad, those sad writings, they feel like a warm hug. And they can lead me to spiraling, but they can also like really feel like, yes, someone is understanding. And that is how I feel.
That is truly, I can totally relate to it, but I'm just talking about those pieces which are too extreme. So for example, I have great respect for Sylvia Plath. I think she's an amazing writer. But I was reading the bell jar, and if you are already sad or if you are already depressed, and then you're reading it, it's not just you think that okay, this woman went through the same emotion that I'm feeling. Because I think if any young person reads bell jar,
Yeah.
at some point in their life they would have felt those emotions where you feel out of place, or where you are depressed. But then people also get out of these emotions. Some people do get out of these emotions. And so I'm just saying that if you are reading the bell jar in a certain phase of your life, it's highly likely that it's not just going to feel as a solidarity that okay, this person sitting in certain time period was feeling the same emotion, but you also think that okay, am I going to end up like Sylvia Plath as well, or like the character in Belgium,
Yeah.
not Sylvia necessarily. So that's what I'm saying, that I don't know, it's obviously each on writers their own process or their own value system, or whatever. Some writers believe that the purpose of art is not to sugarcoat things at all. It's to make you think about your existence, or to make you uncomfortable. But my point is that I have written sad poems. I've written a lot of sad poems. I have a friend, and her mother messaged her one night, and she's like, I want to send a message to Jasir, and I want to tell him that things will be all right. You don't have to be so sad.
And
So
probably you were
it's
not
just
even
like,
feeling sad at the specific time when you posted it.
yeah. No, not necessarily. So yeah, I totally get your point that if it's you we can't erase sadness from life. We can't pretend in our writings or journey that okay, it's and also I think that if someone is going through really sad phase and you write something which is very nonsensical happy thing, like that thing that okay, be happy and something like that, it obviously is going to trigger them further. They're going to think that
Yeah,
okay, what's this absurdity.
I strongly agree. Okay, while we're discussing sad writings and sad stuff, I had this discussion with one of my friends, which I want to get your opinion on, as one of the most brilliant writers I know. We were discussing, and the discussion went something like this: okay, for when you're writing something, it is easier comparatively, relatively, to write about pain and to write about sad stuff rather than writing about any other emotion, be it happiness or anything at all. So, what do you think about that? Is it easier to write about pain? Because that is the most common topic as well of literature and writing.
I think it is easier to write about pain. I don't know if it's easier, but when I'm writing something very happy, I'm also always thinking that okay, if someone who's not very happy at this moment, or who's not very positive or looking at life very brightly at this moment, how are they going to feel about this piece? They might feel that it's too much in their face. So in my writings I never want to pretend something like this, that okay, if you're not happy, something is wrong with you, or everyone should be happy or something like that. But it is also another thing is that I feel that sadness, generally, even in our human lives, we zoom in too much on sadness, on sad things, on or we hold on too much to it.
Yeah,
And I have a piece which talks about something like this, that our we have to make an effort with our memory. So if you look back at a year and you say that okay, this was a very bad year, no matter what good happened in that year, you are going to think that okay, this was the worst year. Your memory is never going to remember those things. And this happens to me a lot, that you assign certain labels to your years, to your memory, that okay, this year was a good year, this year was a bad year. Obviously, year is a too long a period to assign as a good or bad year. To be honest, I feel I can't say about anyone else, but to be honest, I feel that there's no such thing even as a bad day. Even on the days when nothing is working out, there are small things which are there to be happy about, or to be grateful about, or to feel positively about life. So I think that it's also it's something that's now in our age as well, something that I feel more in young writers. And I think this is something that we have also taken from more from English literature, or Western literature to be more precise, that sadness, or writing about sadness, becomes kind of like a personality trait.
yeah,
And then you feel that okay, if you're writing about something else, this is going against your brand of writing, or against your against how people perceive you. So this is something that I consciously make an effort in my writings, that there's no I don't have a brand of writing. It's not like okay, this is Jasir, he writes love poems, or he writes about like real life things, or
yeah.
he writes poems which are lyrical. So I am literally all over the place, which I know is it's not a very good thing as a, as a writer,
I
maybe,
think
but
that is a
from a
brilliant
literary
thing. Like,
perspective. But I am literally all over the place. So I have written about any topic which comes to my mind. So my work is it's not more from a literary perspective, but it's more like a window into my own way of thinking. That's how I perceive things, or how I look at life.
Yeah, as we talked, I feel like your diversity is an amazing thing. And the other thing that you talked about is something that I relate to it in this sense. Okay, I had a very good day. मेरा बहुत अच्छा दिन गुजरा. But बस फिर वो दिन था. I look back at it in 2 days and I go like कि नहीं यार मेरा इतना अच्छा दिन गुजरा. Why am I not thinking about it more? Why am I not absorbing
Hmm.
it inside of me more? जबकि कोई बुरी चीज अगर बुरा दिन है, so I will be thinking about it for the rest of my life. So
Yeah.
I do highly agree with that. Okay, so I want to talk about this one particular writing that you have, I think, recently written. So in one of your writings, you write, "You are only scared of not ever finding love. In the flashbacks, you can pause and see every precise moment when you thought you have found love, but you lost it again." So this makes me wonder. I have a question for you. I want your opinion on it again. What would you say is better or worse between someone who has never found love at all? This is someone who has not discovered love. He does not know what love is at its greatest power. And on the other side, there is a person who has found love in its greatest intensity. And then he loses it, and then he never feels that way again for the rest of his life. Which do you think out of these two is the better one?
I think that the question is not phrased well, because in life there is no way that when you end life you can say that this person lived a better life than the other person. I think if we compare two people, one who has never found love or is totally ignorant of it, or one who has found love and has experienced it, I think if I'm writing poetry, I will say that okay, someone who has never found love is losing out on it. But there's one piece which is going in my mind, and I will share the writing process with you now as well.
Sure.
So there's one piece which is going in my mind that and I haven't written it yet. So it's something like this, that I look at people who live their life, who make their choices very easily. So the choices of their life partners, the choices of their careers, the choices about their area of study, all these things, and they don't think too much about their choices. It's not like their careers are always going brilliant, or their marriages are always working, or their uh, lovers are always perfect. It's a certain kind of people who don't think too much about making choices. And then on the other hand, there are certain kind of people, um, like me, who spend too much time on things, and you always wonder that okay, maybe something is wrong with you. But then I realized that okay, maybe it's not wrong. Something's wrong with me, or something is wrong with them. It's our way of looking at things. So I've noticed this: if I'm going out with someone, and I will always look at the moon, and I will see that okay, what's the formation of the moon, or what's the formation of stars around it, and I will point it out to my brother, or my mother, or my friends, whoever I'm going with, and I will be like that. Look at the moon, and they will look at it for a second, and then will like, why did he even point it out? Like, what's so extraordinary about the moon? Or we will be out and like, today is such a good day. Like, look at the skyline. The sky is so clear. There are three colors in the sky, and they're like, it's sky. It's so like sunsets. You will I will look at a flower blooming, or something like that, and I will keep on thinking about it. So I think that जो हर किसी का आई एम स्विचिंग टू उर्दू सो जो भी हर किसी का एक जिंदगी गुजारने का तरीका होता है आई थिंक अल्लाह मियाँ ने लोगों को मैन्युफैक्चर उसी हिसाब से किया होता है जिस तरह का उनको पता होता है कि इनकी जिंदगी में आगे जाके इन्होंने जो है वो चॉइसेस करनी है तो जिनका उनको पता होता है कि इनको अगर प्यार मिल भी गया तो इनसे उनकी कदर नहीं होनी या इनको पता भी नहीं चलना कि वो वो प्यार था या उसकी वो क्या इमोशन था, तो वो उनको उस चीज़ से इग्नोरेंट रखते हैं और आई थिंक उनकी ज़िंदगी भी अच्छी गुज़र जाती है कि उनको इस चीज़ का पता ही नहीं लगता। On also I think it's not that losing something doesn't diminish its value at all. If we think about life and thinking about it in terms of permanence is a formula to drive your own self crazy because nothing in life is permanent. The
Yeah.
whole philosophy of life is in transience. No matter it's a person, it's an emotion, it's a feeling. Even if you love someone, I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience to say on being very uh, crazy in love or something
Yeah.
of that sorts. But I think that जो एक चीज होती है, जो एक आपका प्यार होता है, there are different kinds of love as well, but that one love that you have, that is very strong kind of emotion, which makes you feel things, which makes you write poetry, and that is never dependent on possessing that person. That love is never dependent on having them in your life. So
Yes.
I know from my own experience that at times you love someone, but you only love them while you are in their company, or you love spending time with them. When you're not together, you have to make an effort to keep reminding yourself that okay, this person exists. But on the other hand, there's this person that you don't meet for years, you haven't been in touch, but still their memory is there, and their memory is so strong that it makes you write, it makes you feel things, you hear something, and it reminds you of them, like most randomest
Yeah.
things remind them of you. So उस प्यार में फिर उस प्यार को खो देने वाली चीज तो खत्म हो जाती है, बिकॉज I know that if you receive love, it has a different kind of impact on your life. It changes your personality. It
Definitely.
gives you yeah. But also not receiving love, just feeling love, just being on the giving end of love, or feeling end of love is also an emotion in its own self. So that is something that you can never lose.
I came to you with this question expecting two very probable or possible
Cliche
answers,
answers.
but you have given me such a good answer. Like this is something I will be thinking about in the coming time. But
Okay.
let's give another dimension to the same question or same मिलता जुलता सवाल है. इन दोनों में से कौन सा बेहतर है? A love that is not reciprocated
Okay.
or a love which is reciprocated but is not destined to be. So if we're following the same approach, like
Hmm.
from what I'm thinking, तो इससे फिर I think यही बेहतर है कि at least you have felt that feeling, right, and at least you've experienced something.
I don't know. पहले ये होता था कि I used to think in terms of these binaries, that क्या बेहतर है, that you be with someone you love, or you be with someone who loves you.
Yeah,
क्या बेहतर है कि आप जो है you live your life by making the choices that are expected from you, or you make the choices which don't make sense to anyone else except you. So I used to drag myself crazy on these questions. कि अच्छा,
yeah,
मतलब life is a big choice. You are making a choice every moment. Like you are talking to me, you could have done something better in this time. You could have read a book probably, or something else. But the point is that कुछ देर पहले से मैंने चीज सोचना, इस पर्सपेक्टिव से सोचना छोड़ दी है, that there is no way that हम बैठ के इन चीज़ों को कंपेयर कर सकते हैं कि क्या चीज़ बेहतर है, और या क्या किस इंसान ने बेहतर चॉइसेस की। I think at the end of the day, we all are going to make choices, and some of them are going to work out, and some of them are not going to work out.
yeah.
It's just that there's also another piece that I'm thinking, and I haven't written it yet, because आजकल I'm checking exam papers of my students, so there are a lot of pieces which are going in my mind, but I haven't jotted them down. So this piece is more around that it's like two people are going through an ocean, or a water body, and one person makes it to the end, and everyone thinks that they have the winning formula, that they have figured it out, and they can tell that okay, this is something that worked, and no one is going to think that what was that the other person was doing. It wasn't that maybe the other person was doing something wrong. It's that whoever makes it to the other end, people think that okay, they made all the right choices. But it's not like that. If you ask someone, they will explain their choices to you, and you can't just copy it, and you will make it through as well. You have to go through your own trials, your own confusions, your own regrets, and they would have their own. It's just like our way of looking at things is very weird, that we think about people in terms of um, maybe a car race, or two people swimming in the ocean, and we only remember people, or we only respect people who make it to the other end. We don't even want to talk about people who didn't make it to the end. And this is something that I find very strange about our way of thinking, that even when we are growing up, we respect certain kind of individuals, the kind of people our parents like, who have set careers, who have set marriages. But as you grow up more and more, you realize that people that your family didn't like were actually maybe the people who were living lives on their own terms. It wasn't just like their choices weren't making sense to your family or to your relatives. And so yeah, I'm sorry, I just took a totally
No, no, this is
different
making.
dimension.
I think ये वही चीज़ है कि we are growing up with mentalities that we have to unlearn, and which
Yeah.
eventually we think it's binary like you said, but it is not. And you understand that as you're growing up and you're entering your practical life and you're looking at how everything is. So, okay, so one more question on a similar topic. It's not a repetition again, don't worry. But is there something that, like, if there was a person, if there is a person, okay, he is your friend, or what would you say to someone who cannot get over love? Not over a person, but the idea of love. There is someone that you know who is not able to get over the idea of love. What do you think should be said to them?
I will tell them to hold on to it, to hold on the idea of love or the hope of love, because I think अगर आप ज़िंदगी में किसी भी लम्हे ये तस्लीम कर लें कि अब ज़िंदगी बस ऐसे ही गुज़रेगी, अब कोई नई चीज़ नहीं आएगी, कोई नया इंसान, कोई नया जज़्बा, कोई नया इमोशन आपकी ज़िंदगी में नहीं आएगा, तो ज़िंदगी बहुत बदमज़ा हो जाती है, आप उसको ज़िंदगी नहीं कह सकते। फिर तो यूँ ही है कि जैसे आप एक कैद काटते हैं कि
Yeah,
जितने भी साल आपके बाकी रह गए हैं, वो आपने इस दुनिया में गुज़ारने। तो एक ये चीज़ इंसान को बड़ी एंटाइसिंग लगती है, स्पेशली जिस जिस एज ग्रुप में हम हैं, आपको हर टाइम एक बेचैनी होती है कि कल क्या होगा? कि वो किसी भी बारे में हो सकती है, प्यार के बारे में हो सकती है, करियर के बारे में हो सकती है, किसी भी चीज़ के बारे में हो सकती है। और उस लम्हे अपने दिल को समझाने के लिए फॉर द टाइम बीइंग हम ये चीज़ मान लेते हैं कि अब बस ज़िंदगी जो है यही है, वी हैव टू लिव विद इट। और उस टाइम हमें ये चीज़ बड़ी आसान लगती है, आसान लगती है, फ़ायदेमंद लगती है, बिकॉज़ आप में एक सेंस ऑफ कंटेंटमेंट आ जाती है कि हाँ, बस ठीक है, बुरी है, अच्छी है, बस मैंने मान लिया है कि लाइफ़ यही है, यही चॉइसेस है। बट जो है आप कभी भी एक एक मेरा पीस था, उसमें एक चीज़ थी दैट यू कैन नेवर प्रेडिक्ट योर ट्रेजेडीज़, एंड सिमिलरली यू कैन नेवर प्रेडिक्ट व्हाट इज़ गोइंग टू हैपन टू यू इन लाइफ़। हमें बहुत ज़्यादा ये चीज़ लग रही होती है कि अच्छा ये हमारी ट्रैजेक्टरी होगी, कि प्रोफ़ेशनल लाइफ़ हो या आपकी वैसे ज़िंदगी हो, तो आई डोंट नो, मे बी इट्स जस्ट मी, और मतलब सब लोग इतना फारी टाइम नहीं होता सबके पास कि बैठ के सोचते रहें ट्रैजेक्टरी ऑफ लाइफ़ के बारे में। बट लाइक मुझे ये चीज़ लगती थी कि अच्छा मतलब अब बस मतलब इफ यू आर फीलिंग सैड, और इफ यू आर नॉट फीलिंग motivated to do something maybe for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, at times you think that अच्छा मेरी अब trajectory ज़िंदगी की यही है, I'm going, this is going to be who am I as a person, but you do get out of feelings, चीज़ लग रही होती है कि ओहो अब तो I'm so over this, the childish emotion of love, this emotion which totally makes you irrational, or makes you, but no, it can, things can happen to you, and I don't think so one should ever um, ever get over this idea of love. I think this is what keeps us alive.
इसमें मेरा ओपिनियन एक ये भी है कि लाइक इफ आई एम समवन हु बिलीव्स इन द आइडिया ऑफ लव एंड मैं मेरी थिंकिंग उस तरह की है, तो आई
I
कैन
don't know
ट्राई
what
टू
do you
डू
mean by the idea of love. Like what do you mean by the idea of love?
the idea of love that one day you're going to have that something special, ठीक है, love of any
अच्छा,
sort, but something that makes it easier and makes it better, and the sort of thing that you watch other people have, and the sort of thing
अच्छा,
that you
I don't
daydream
have
about.
that.
Sorry,
अच्छा, I don't have the idea of love at all myself.
what is your idea of love? Tell me. What do you think is idea of love?
So I no no, you are perfectly right. This is the perfect idea of love. But what I was saying was मेरे ज़हन में ये था that idea of love is that to have this emotion that someday, not someday, but like any at any point in your life, there's going to be a person that you're going to love. और मतलब उसमें what you are saying is the idea of having that love in your life, that to have that person in your life.
Yeah. So, what I think or feel is कि अगर कोई generally be, if there is someone who is, who has a lot of hope regarding all of this stuff, all of the career के हिसाब से हो, किसी भी हिसाब से हो, they can, try to convince themselves कि नहीं, we have to, कि ऐसा नहीं है, अब ऐसी है life, we have to make amends with it. मगर I feel
Yeah,
like at some level कहीं ना कहीं, because well, that is who they are, that is what their personality is, that is something that they crave,
yeah.
and at some level they will be craving it and wanting it. So उसको दबाना किसी की भी मदद नहीं करेगा.
Or I think we are who we are. I think that it's very futile to even make an effort to change the way you look at things. Obviously you can make changes to your ideas, to your values. अगर आपका कोई belief है जो बहुत toxic है या बहुत
Of course.
childish है या बहुत irrational है, तो by all means you should grow up. But हर हर इंसान का चीज़ों को देखने का एक अपना जाविया होता है. अगर आप एक मटीरियलिस्टिक इंसान नहीं हैं, अगर आप हर चीज़ को पैसों में नहीं तोलते, तो देयर इज़ नो नीड टू बी फोर्स्ड टू डू दैट. देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल हू आर मटीरियलिस्टिक. देयर इज़ नो डर्थ ऑफ देम इन द वर्ल्ड. आपने उनको क्यों जॉइन करना है? So I think when you are young, there's just a lot of pressure on you to confine to this one identity of being young. कि अच्छा अगर आप 22 साल के हैं, 23 साल के हैं, तो you should be thinking about your career. You should be thinking about when you're 25, 27, you should be thinking about marriage. You should be thinking about stability. But I मतलब कोई भी जो कोई मतलब बड़ा इंसान तो is not the right term to use for any person, but anyone who has done something which is memorable. None of them have lived by the book. None of them had made choices which make sense to you. And I think कि जो जिंदगी की खूबसूरती है वो है ही इसी चीज में कि खुदा ने हम सब को एक दूसरे से डिफरेंट बनाया. इवन द पीपल हु आर ट्विन्स, इवन दे
Yeah.
हैव डिफरेंसेस अमंग देम.
Yeah.
तो अब हमारे यहाँ पे इतना एक एक ज़्यादा प्रेशर है कि हर बंदा एक कन्फाइनमेंट की दौड़ में लगा हुआ है कि हमने इस सांचे में अपने आप को ढाल के रहें. वो सांचा किसने बनाया है, किसने अप्रूव किया है, इतने सालों से वो सांचा बनता चला आ रहा है कि आप एक मोमेंट पे खड़े होके उस चीज़ को क्वेश्चन भी आपको करना चाहिए कि भाई ये इस सांचे की कोई सेंस भी बनती है या नहीं.
Precisely.
I know people who just live their lives to do whatever is expected from them, and when they are done with their lives, like when they're living their retired lives, they're like, "अभी हमने क्यों ये choices?" And you question them, भाई no one forced you. You were making these choices by
By
your own
yourself.
self.
Yeah.
So हमें लगता है कि अगर हम वो सारी choices करेंगे which are expected from us, तो शायद हमें 60 के बाद society कोई best member का award देगी. But ऐसा कुछ कुछ नहीं होता. And also this thing, I think because primarily the people who read my work are young people, and I'm also a young person. I
Yeah.
assume,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
age
नहीं हो.
wise at least, I am young. So so I think आप पे मतलब हम जिस एज में हैं या आप जिस एज में हैं, हम पे एक इस चीज का बहुत प्रेशर होता है कि भाई हमें लगता है कि constantly the lens is on us, that everyone is looking at us, our teachers, our friends, our family. Or that pressure is totally constructed. So take it from me, I have made some horrendous career choices, and to be honest, the world didn't break down. And I used to think कि पता नहीं क्या क्या हो जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा, लोग क्या सोचेंगे, वो क्या सोचेंगे. But people have better things to do.
Yeah.
And it's true that मतलब लोग ये सोचेंगे अच्छा भाई इर्तिजा डॉक्टर बना है तो ये शायरी की किताबें क्यों कर रहे हैं, but that's it. That's
Yeah.
the most we're going to do. But if you are going to make yourself suffer by doing something which you have no interest, which you don't want to do, which totally goes against your grain of existence, so उस suffering का कोई आपको end पे award नहीं मिलने वाला. So I think it's not worth it.
Yeah. Life is too short for that, honestly.
Yeah, true.
Okay. So
Too
since we
short
are,
and also too unpredictable. Like it's इट्स सो अनसर्टन कि
Yeah,
हम ये हम अगर ये चॉइसेस कर रहे होते हैं स्टेबिलिटी की या जो भी, तो हम एक फ्यूचरिस्टिक माइंडसेट से कर रहे होते हैं कि अच्छा 10 साल हम ये चीज़ कर लेते हैं, बट in the 11th year we will have the return of it, but who has a guarantee that you will see the 11th year?
एग्जैक्टली, लाइक
So
अपने पूरा एक मैप पेव किया हुआ है पाथ, मगर जरूरी नहीं है
yeah,
कि सब कुछ उसी के अकॉर्डिंग ही चल रहा
yeah, yeah, true.
है. Okay, so now that we are heading towards ending this episode, the inevitable question, a question that I've been meaning to ask, okay, when are you publishing your work? When are we getting to see your work in a published form?
So there are a couple of answers to this. So one answer is that शुरू में तो एक ही चीज थी that I had this imposter syndrome
Okay,
where I used to think that मतलब it would be too wannabe to put, because अब I know that so many people have published their work, and it's not that जो भी चीज़ publish हुई है वो अच्छी चीज़ है. This is not a
definitely.
standard of something.
Yeah,
You come across books which are absolutely waste of your time, but they are published and they
definitely.
are published by publishing houses. There's been certain amount of money, certain amount of effort that has been spent in it. बट मेरे एक क्योंकि I read, I used to read a lot, but now I don't read much. So I make very conscious choices of picking a book. So I don't want to like because जब आप बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ रहे होते हैं तो तब जो भी किताब हाथ आई आपने पढ़ ली, आपको पसंद आई नहीं आई, आप किताब खत्म करने के बाद देखते हैं. बट अब ये होता है कि आप किताब पढ़ने से पहले आप उसका रिव्यूज़ देख रहे हैं, राइटर का देख रहे हैं कि अच्छा वुड आई लाइक दिस बुक और नॉट. सो उस तरह से जब मैंने पिछले 2-3 सालों में किताबें पढ़ी, तो मुझे लगा कि अच्छा जो भी पब्लिश्ड वर्क मैंने पढ़ा है, देयर इज़ अ सर्टेन सब्सटेंस टू इट. एंड आप ऐसे मुँह उठा के अपना काम पब्लिश नहीं कर सकते. प्लस एक आई थिंक आपका एक वो भी चीज़ होती है दैट आई एम नॉट आई डिडन्ट परस्यू लिटरेचर एज़ अ फील्ड ऑफ स्टडी. So generally, I felt that when you are doing something academically, so there's a certain level of comfort that you have in that field, or there's a certain network of people that you have around you who are doing the same thing. So now no one in my close circle writes, or so it's like totally. और शुरू में तो ये होता था कि now तो I made this page and something और सारा कुछ. But शुरू में when I just used to share things on my timeline, if someone would bring up that in a real life setting, like हम यूनिवर्सिटी में थे या वैसे कहीं दोस्त बैठे हुए हैं, I'm meeting someone very like acquaintance like, and they will bring up a writing, I would feel embarrassed. I would feel that okay, this was something that was supposed to be left on social media.
Yeah, I get
So
you. Yeah,
now so now because now it's a bit zoomed out, it's on a page, and now if someone brings it up, so now if people recognize me as someone who writes, I feel very humbled and honored by it. And now I am getting this confidence that okay, there are people who would be interested to read it. और दूसरे की भी चीज़ है इर्तिज़ा that if you go for a traditional publishing, then your writing has to follow a certain kind of pattern. So I did approach a publishing house, and they were willing to publish my poems, but they were like that. Then we will only publish your one kind of work, which can be aligned to one theme.
yes,
So उसमें एक फिर एक ये आपको इश्यू भी आता है. So now my plan is most probably to self publish in inshallah in 2021. Or I have started compiling my work. So because so many things are which are not even saved in my phone, I just typed it on Facebook and posted it there. So the page is good in also the sense that it's also is archival for me, so
yeah,
I can just take things from here. और दूसरा ये था, then also this other thing that this fear I used to have was about self publishing, that I thought that self publishing is something which is not a respectable thing to do, because then you have just published this thing and now people have to read it. It's not like it has passed through that process of scrutinying and
yeah,
and someone finding it suitable to be read. But now I've seen that so many great is not the right word, but so many well read uh, people, like even so I know now Rupi Kaur has become a meme and everything, but I have great respect for her that she introduced this genre of writing
Yes.
poetry,
Thank you for
where
saying
you
that.
can write where
Yeah.
you can write about the themes which are personal to you. She wrote about themes which were common to us, like Asians or Middle Eastern people. She wasn't writing just for the Western audience, or not writing from that lens where you are only writing about certain themes. And now she has become a meme, or whatever people want to say her. I also engage in that at Rupik or
Yeah.
meme thing, but then you cannot ignore the fact that she was a trendsetter or a trailblazer. Like,
She
she
opened that window.
self-published her work. Yeah,
Yeah.
she opened it window. Like, she self-published her work, and now I don't know uh, what was the thing, but there was this really prestigious literature thing that she did. It has totally skipped my mind. But the point is that now I my notion of self-publishing has also changed over time.
Yeah.
So
So
now,
yeah.
inshallah, if things go so I usually I'm not someone who do things very methodologically. So if you go through my page as well, the graphics of the posts that I used to make and start are very like horrendous. So I'm not someone who will be like, अच्छा जब तक ये perfect एक चीज नहीं हो जाती हम इसको नहीं करेंगे. So that is also one of my fears with book. So मुझे ये होता है कि ये ना हो कि बस मैं ऐसे ही कोई चीज कर दूं और उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा गलतियाँ हों और बहुत ज़्यादा हो, बट नहीं, इंशाल्लाह, अगर if it's in destiny, so maybe in
Inshallah.
2021 the book will be here.
But one comment on the thing that you said, because I have self-published a book as well. I will not vouch for its quality at all, but I have done
Okay.
it, and I had these very similar doubts. I thought, and I had this discussion with my friend who told me कि यार, if किसी के पास पैसा है या किसी के पास खरीदने की एक वो है, लॉयल वो है, दोस्त है,
Hmm.
तो anyone can be a सेल्फ पब्लिश ऑथर फिर तो व्हाट इज द अचीवमेंट राइट.
Yeah.
अगर इसका आंसर मुझे ये मिला था कि इफ योर वर्क इज हैज सम क्वालिटी, अगर इट हैज
Yeah.
समथिंग गुड, तो फिर वो खुद ही इट विल प्रूव इटसेल्फ, द वर्क विल प्रूव फॉर इटसेल्फ. यू वोंट हैव टू
Yeah. True.
टॉक ऑन द बिहाफ
True.
ऑफ इट, because people will be reading it, people will be talking about it, and that
Yeah.
is how it will
Yeah.
be.
Now, so the thing is that one thing one good thing that has happened with Page is that, to be very honest, and like, I don't want to brag about it or something, but to be honest, I didn't expect that it will have this kind of reach. It was something that I didn't imagine it to be. So I meet my friends, or I meet my acquaintances, and they are telling me about their friends and their family and their, like, class fellows sharing it on in WhatsApp groups, like on their WhatsApp statuses and, their Instagram. And so it's very humbling to think in that sense that your words are reaching out to someone who is not even in your mind when you are writing it. Because usually when I used to write it on my timeline, so you have these certain kind of people in your mind that, okay, these are the people who usually engage with my posts, like your friends or whoever, literally interest or something. And you're writing with them in your mind. But when you are sharing it publicly, and this is something which gave me confidence to also overcome my self censorship. So I'm like, I'm writing for this person that I don't even know. And then one thing that I really like about my it's not about my writing, because to be honest, it is I get this feeling a lot that I'm not a proper writer, to say the word. Because I'm not trained in writing. I haven't read a lot, and like, whatever I write is usually very raw. Even if you read it, you get that
Yeah.
emotion. But the good thing about it is that when I look at this page and I think that, okay, maybe if it doesn't have any literary value, maybe if you say that it has zero literary value, whatever work I'm producing, it's still, I see this page now more so as a community. So people like comment on it, and like in messages people are telling me their personal stories, the kind of things they are going through in life, or like when
Yeah.
they read a piece, the kind of emotion that resonated with them. And I think that is something that is, for me at least, that is way more than something just being a purely a literary piece. Because
Precisely, yes.
even if you look at the writers that have been, I haven't read English, like I have read English literature, but I haven't like Western. I haven't followed the Western canon a lot. So, but for the people, for the writers in subcontinent, because you also have certain insight into their personal lives as well. And I see that there are certain writers who are just amazing writers. So there's Abdullah Hussain who wrote Udas Nasle, and that is one of the most brilliant novels to come out of Urdu literature in post-independence Pakistan. But then that person has his own personality. Like he had literally no engagement with people at all. He wasn't a people's person. He used to be very reserved and he was very antisocial and all. But on the same end, then there's Faiz Ahmed Faiz, who is equally brilliant in his own right, maybe the most prolific poet to come out of Pakistan, and someone who was so respected in his own lifetime, because generally people have to die in our part of the world to get recognition or something. But if you look at Faiz, he's not just a poet, or he's not just a thinker. So I have listened to a lot of interviews of people who were close to him, his family, his friends, or his contemporaries. And then you see this person who is larger than his writings. So it's not just he is just writing about
Yeah.
Inqilab and Ishq and all this by sitting in a room. He is engaging with people. It's his personality. It's the same. मतलब अगर आप उनकी जिंदगी के किस्से सुने तो लाइक अगर फैज अहमद फैज शायर ना भी होते तो still he would be something. He's not just a writer. So obviously I'm not comparing
No,
myself
no,
at
I
all
get you.
to Faiz Ahmed
But
Faiz.
it's
I
about
would
you as
never
a person, who you
do
are as a
that. Yeah.
person.
So to me, my idea of writing is not that okay, you write something which is only understandable to 10 or 12 people, and it's something which is too uh, profound, or it's too metaphorical and too heavy to be understood. So my idea is that it should be accessible to people, that it should be in a way that you should write about things which people go through. Because I felt this, that there was a time when I was going through a hard time, and I would randomly come across some pieces on brain pickings or other pages, and I would read and I would feel that if this was written for me. Because a lot of times when you turn to your friends, so I'm someone who's not very comfortable or open to who's very open to like sharing his issues, or not necessarily issues, but like एक आपका होता है ना कि there are certain kind of people, they feel any discomfort in life and they would rush to their friends or their family, and they would like that, okay, this is something that I'm going through and I have to like we have to sort this out. And then they talk about it, and this is sorted. And then at least for me, I tell my friends or I tell my family once I'm gotten over the thing. So if like months have passed or at times years have passed, and then I will tell them, okay, this was the time. So in that time, and especially for a person for me like me, writings gained a lot of importance. Like it gave me a new perspective, because earlier I used to think that okay, you just write for something, एक तो अपने कैथारसिस के लिए, और दूसरा
Yeah,
एक अच्छी नज़म, एक अच्छा पीस वो होता है which is it's an on right a good piece, कि मतलब अगर वो एक लाइब्रेरी में पढ़ा हुआ है तो it's a good piece, अगर दीवार पे भी टंगा हुआ है तो it's a good piece. But then it gave me a new perspective that maybe a good piece is something which people engage with. And this is something that I really like about this page and the way it has become. Obviously, this has nothing to do with me because I haven't done it consciously or something. That people engage with what I'm saying. It's not just that I'm posting it in the void. Like they are real people, real human beings with their own lived experience, with their own relations, with their way of life, with everything, and they are engaging with it. It's not just a mere arrangement of words. It means something to them.
yeah.
So that has been really really humbling and overwhelming for me.
There are a lot of like when it comes to resonating. I myself and a lot of people I know. I told you we are exchanging screenshots of your post. Okay, I so get this. Like this is so amazing. It feels like it has been written about my life, and he knows what is going on in my life. But with that, we have to end this episode. And the one last thing, the one last request, which I hope does not frustrate you. Can you please read one of your poems for us? Anything you can.
Yeah. I will surely. Uh, I will read this point that I just shared yesterday on my page, and I forgot to read this in my uh, Facebook Live. I did a few days ago, so I will read this one.
Yes.
I realized I have a unique name when the substitute teacher in grade 1 struggled to pronounce it correctly. After class, she asked me, "What does it mean?" It was the first time I learned that names should mean something. They are not just words we use to call each other. The difference between a name and an address is of meaning. I asked Amma, "What does my name mean?" Over the years, I have told numerous curious strangers the meaning of my name. But the other night, when in the middle of conversation, you called my name, it assumed a new meaning. It ushered a man ripped of any titles, only a human with a heart full of love, and arms searching for someone to hold. In your company, I dissolve to be nothing. In your company, I dissolve to be nothing. I find meaning of my name in your voice.
So I must say that before this, I was already like a fan of your writings and of your everything. आज के बाद I'm a fan of your personality as well. Like very honestly, you're so amazing. It is so easy to talk to you. I feel like I can talk to you for like days on. करते जाओ बस बातें.
That's very kind of you. I think it has to do more with you than me, because that is not a universal feeling, I must say. So this
Okay.
is your own kindness.
Okay, so with this, I want to thank you again, and I want to end this episode. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone who is watching. I will see you in the next episode, hopefully very, very, very soon.